I don't know why Photon has to make all the Fusion tutorials so confusing. Even the documentation. There's a lot of samples that are really good to get started, but oftentimes they have a lot of UI that's already pre-set up, but it doesn't allow you to customize. And so I'm gonna break it down to the bare minimum, and we're gonna use 3 scripts to get started, and that's all you need. Once you understand this, you can explore the other tutorials, you can go dive deeper, customize things how you want. And I believe that with this, you'll be able to understand Photon Fusion too. There's tutorials on how to install it, download it, set it up. My focus is on, okay, once you're in Unity, once you have everything installed, what are the core components at the bare minimum? Because I like to have, that's why I'm in Unity, because I like it vanilla. I don't want anything in here unless I know that I put it there. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first, there's 3 scripts. I'm gonna list them in the description or in the comments, all 3. The first one is the simple scene start. You can name it whatever you want. This has to either spawn or activate the runner. The runner is a component that is the heart of everything. This is what runs the session. Okay, and here I'll show you, and I have that loading text in here just to show kind of like what's going on in here, like what version, what it's loading, or if there's errors, I can trace back. But we have 2 components, super simple. All we're doing is I decided to just activate the component because I like to see the prefab in here. This runner is just deactivated. This is for voice chat. This runner is just a regular network runner. You don't even need this Fusion voice client. Okay. Uh, this is all you need. This is for voice chat. If you don't have voice chat, you don't need this, and you don't need this. Okay. Um, but I do have voice chat, and this is for VR. But this applies the same if you're not a VR. If you're not doing VR, it's the same. Okay, so let's go over. You have the Connect runner. So what happens is it activates the runner. The moment you activate the runner, it'll connect to a room or try to connect to Photon. So once it connects, you have this async. So that's why we have this sync that it's going to connect. And what it's going to do is going to try to connect to this scene. How you get the scene reference is up to you. If you want to do it some other way, so it has enums, and so that way you don't have like a problem because this scene number is based on this right here. Sometimes you can like, if I accidentally like go like this, it's going to try to load this scene. And so I don't want to. So that is something you have to watch out for. So there are samples that show how to do this more visually more pretty, I guess you could say. So we're gonna start. This is all very basic. The runner starts, like I said, is the heart of the game, and you decide whether to do it in game mode shared or you have host. Host means that you have a host and a client. And then you have also this single. I love this because this is single player mode. So what could happen is that if you for some reason fail to load, like let's say in here I have on room shutdown. I don't have it added in here, but if I wanted to add it, I could. Right here's the unfail start result. Shoot the reason why it failed. I could also run this. See how it's in here. Unfailed. Use this. Okay, so in here, I could say if it's disconnected by plugin logic or one of these reasons, like um, maybe the servers are not ready or something happened. Like let's say you know there's specific reasons where maybe you don't have internet connection or it can't connect to Fusion. You can then say, okay, well I'll start it in. I don't have it added in here, but if I wanted to add it, I could. Right here's the unfail start result. Shoot the reason why it failed. I could also run this. See how it's in here. Unfailed. Use this. Okay, so in here, I could say if it's disconnected by plugin logic or one of these reasons, like um, maybe the servers are not ready or something happened. Like let's say you know there's specific reasons where maybe you don't have internet connection or it can't connect to Fusion. You can then say, okay, well I'll start it in single mode. So I could run another one in here because we can see reconnect the runner. I could do another one in here that maybe says connect a single player, right? And we have a mode that's in single. So that can happen. And it will run everything that you have network will run as if it's hosted by the same person. So it's not allowing other people to come in, but you can still play the whole game the same way. It's just you don't have anybody else there with you. So it's really nice because then you don't have to do single player code. You just run the network, and you don't. It doesn't waste bandwidth at all because it doesn't connect to Fusion. It doesn't connect to the servers. You're running it locally. Okay, so that's something good to know, and that's it. What happens is this takes care of the scene loading for you. So what will happen is that's why I have it in this scene, and it's running the next scene that we're gonna go. So it will add the Unity scene and connect to Runner. If you don't have a name in here, so let's say, because this is another thing that I want to explain so that you understand how this works for, because you're gonna want to join a specific room maybe, or you have a private code that you want to host people in, and you're like, how do I do that when I can't even see the list of rooms? Photon Fusion, they don't do the room. They think that's like an old way of doing things, so they just want to automatically connect you to stuff. Um, but most people always ask for a list of other rooms because they want to see where other players are at and they want to try to find them. So that's always tough to do, but they have a way of doing it. What I want to share with you is how this works, and then maybe you can find other ways to connect people. So what happens is I can in here the name, session name, I believe, or name. Yeah, if I do the session name and I say blob or whatever, or oh, whoops. Okay, so let's say I add this. This will make it so that everyone will connect to a blob. And so the moment we have 20 players, it will stop working. So this will prevent new rooms from being created in this mode sessions. Rooms are sessions. So if I wanted to do like, let's say the player types in a private room, right? Like I can do a string of room name, or if you have other things like Steam or maybe Meta, you have a friend request or something, an invite, maybe you'll have a room. Uh, you can have in here. But I just wanted to show you. Okay, so we have this action, we have the room, and in here we can just list it. And you will, so this will make it so that you run private rooms all the time. Okay, so you have to decide, right? Usually if you leave this empty, you won't get anything. The other thing you can do is, let's say you do leave it empty, okay? You don't have any way, you can do session properties. Session properties are specific, let me see if it'll let me. You can set up session properties with different, for example, you can have strings, int, booleans, but the idea with this is that you can say, for example, let's say we want to play Ghost in the Graveyard or Capture the Flag, King of the Hill. You can have a property with a string that says game mode. And that way, yes, you don't have a specific private server, but everyone will connect to that specific property type. And so all the people joining Capture the Flag will pair with each other. And so that's an easier way to like take people randomly, but to the same game type. Now you can do both. You can have a private room and session properties. So like if you have 4-digit codes like numbers or 6, you can have the same private room number, but if it has a different session property, it should filter it out. So you could be in the same private setting, but in a different session because of the properties. So the property is a good way to separate things. That's that. And then, okay, so that's the first script. I know I went a little bit long, but I wanted to make sure that you understood because usually these questions come up. It's like, oh, how do I modify this? How do I go to a specific scene? Or how do I match players up? Because that's the first thing that Fusion never makes sense. They give you a UI and it's all set up for you, but like when you want to customize it to have your own things, it gets hard. This is like the simplest thing that I could come up with, and this is why I at the bottom you see I have all these is because I want to remember that I have this option to that I have shut down reasons that I can double check these because oftentimes they're not there or something. Yeah. Okay, so the next one, that's it for this. We load the next scene. Don't save anything. And here, I usually separate the network objects. All we need is two more scripts. Is the shared lobby spawner. So you could name it whatever you want, but this is spawns the avatar. And then the third script is the avatar script. That's it. That's all you need. And technically, you don't need the avatar script to connect. The reason you need the avatar script is so that the avatar can be networked across the sessions. And usually, what happens in non-VR games is that you have the avatar be a networked object and you just the host can control it. So you have the character controller within the network object. But in VR, it gets too complicated. So usually you split them up. So you have a local rig and you have a network rig. Okay, and so this is like this Gorilla Tag rig that has all the elements, and then you have this that spawns the fusion. Okay, um, so let me show you the share lobby. Super simple. Again, I'm trying to make it like what is the minimum code you need to connect. Okay, so we have a network behavior. We have you can do a game object as well if you want. This just ensures that the object. This just ensures that you get the correct thing because if this is not a network prefab, it will not work. It will not spawn it. But this ensures that you're getting the correct reference. So I'll show you. Then here, see when I have Fusion Rig, it will only let me do network objects. Whereas if I do this one, I can do a queue, right? And that's not going to work. Okay. So let's go back. And because you can do, see, look, watch. If I put that there, it will still let me do the object. So you can do game objects with Runner. Okay. And you don't need to do anything other than just Runner. You don't need to find it. It already works. And I usually like to leave the base setup in case we need to do that because this is an override. This will happen on all players. We also, if you wanted to check only spawn, and I think we need to do this. I don't know if I haven't tested it thoroughly, but usually what you can, I want to do that. But if you have state authority, this means, that, oh, no. Yeah, I don't want to do that. This should be in every player. But yeah, so if you have the state authority over this, it'll only spawn for one player. So we don't want that. We want it to Okay, so what we need to do is runner spawn, and this will spawn this network avatar. Okay, and what will happen is this right here, the rig, we have on spawn. So this it's a little bit um, more set up because it's VR. When you are doing non-VR, you'll probably do similar things, but it's with your player controller. These are just display names. I have a display name as a networked. When you have a string, you want to set a capacity because you want to predetermine how much you're going to use, how much bandwidth you're going to use for your strings, so that it's allocated at the beginning. So that's something to think about with network strings. If it's local, you have state authority. This is usually common when you have avatars and things being spawned by the player because this makes it so that okay, this is the local player. I'm gonna grab my own game manager. This is a local variable. If I did this for everybody, that regardless of this, then you will have your name on every client, and this is where you will start to play with things. You will forget to do some of these, like has state authority. I have a card game, a Marvel Snap, that I'll also put a link on it where I go over some of these things. Um, but this is the beginning, right? This is the most basic. Once you get here, you can spawn. You don't even need to spawn an avatar, and you can connect without. So you can technically connect with one script, that runner, but this makes it so that other people can see, so that you can start seeing the avatar. And once you do that, you'll start to try to figure out, okay, how do I display their name? Okay, how do I do that? So this is how I do it. This is set up for all the other players. Exclude client. Anyway, so this here is like the start of how you start of learning multiplayer mechanics, because you're going to start figuring out, okay, what's local, what's the multiplayer, and how do I uh, debug it. Because this is a good exercise to start trying to wrap your head around debugging multiplayer stuff. This is an unfixed update on the network. I just update the body, the hands, and the headset. And I do this specifically because I like to rotate the hand and we have a body rig. And so we need to make sure that as the player moves, that the body's moving as well and it's rotating at the correct angles. So we and that's it. Um, hopefully this helps you understanding Fusion. Super simple. If you have more questions, I go over it in a card game where I go over network things. If you want a different tutorial with Fusion, I can do that. My plan with this Gorilla game is to expand it to now. Um, my next goal is to replace this avatar with something that I'm working on. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pop-up UI for VR. I like solo leveling. I want to create the start. One pillar for my game is solo leveling experience. So that's an anime called Solo Leveling, where a guy gains experience and he has like this UI pop up in the real world. So I'm going to create a UI pop up that's always communicating with the player to tell them what to do or what's going on, to guide them through the game. And then as a wizard, you're going to be leveling up. And so that pop up will help you determine where you're at, your inventory, and it's your basically interaction with with the game. So that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to do the pop up, and then I'm going to do the experience, the data handling of that, and show how that's done. And but the main thing with this Fusion, if you have questions, let me know. I try to make it super simple. My focus is not on coding, but if there is a need and there's missing information out there, I will gladly put it out. My main focus is to help you finish your games and to show you how you can do that and how simple it can be. But it takes time and it takes patience and the ability to focus on what you need to learn. Like if you don't know something, you need to learn a skill. But is that skill what you want to learn? Right? I see oftentimes people spending time doing crazy stuff, trying to figure out things that are not used by anybody and wasting 90% of the time on some feature that you don't need. You can do it some other way. And so that's why I have endgame devs, so that we can help each other become better developers and focus on the thing that we need to reach our dream goals. That's why I have this YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next video.